Have you ever looked at someone's pocket dump on Instagram or YouTube and thought, man, if I could own those exact pieces of gear, my EDC would finally be complete? I hate to break it to you, but that day probably is never going to come. Not because you can't afford it, not because those pieces of gear aren't great, but because the perfect EDC doesn't exist. That's one of the best things about this hobby, though. So let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of EDC For Beginners. I'm Mikey, and if you're new here, this podcast is all about helping people get into everyday carry without feeling overwhelmed, pressured, or like they need to spend thousands of dollars to fit into this hobby. On my main channel, though, MikeyDailyCarry, I review knives, flashlights, backpacks, pens, anything that deals with everyday carry, you can check out over there. But over here, we're not talking about products. We're talking about the mindset behind everyday carry. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, be sure to subscribe. Now here's a little bit of story time. When I first got into EDC, I honestly thought there would be a point where I'd finally be done. I'd find the perfect knife, I'd find the perfect pen, I'd find the perfect wallet, bag, and I'd never need to change anything ever again. Sounds great, right? Well, years later, I'm here to tell you that never happened. And that's okay, because EDC isn't about reaching some finish line. It's about adapting. Naturally, your life changes, so your EDC should too. Think about your own life. 5 years ago, were you doing the same exact things you were doing today? Probably not. Maybe you changed careers. Maybe you got married. Maybe you had kids. I know becoming a dad completely changed the way I carry gear. Suddenly, I wasn't just thinking about what I needed. I was thinking about what my family might need. Sometimes that means carrying less. Sometimes it means carrying different tools. Sometimes it means off-body carry. Your life evolves. Your carry should evolve with it. Stop copying other people. One mistake I see beginners make all the time. They try to recreate someone else's pocket dump. Maybe it's mine. Maybe it's another creator's. Maybe it's someone from Instagram that they just saw and liked the post of. Here's the problem. You're copying someone's solutions without knowing what problems they're trying to solve. Maybe they work outdoors. Maybe they work in an office like me. Maybe they're a knife collector. Maybe they only carry one thing. Your EDC shouldn't look like mine. It should look like yours. Here's something that took me a while to accept. There is no perfect EDC tool. Some knives disappear in your pocket. Some are incredible hard use tools. Some are works of art. Some are simply fun to own. Every tool is a compromise. The same goes for backpacks, fanny packs, and other things I review on my channel. Every product gives you something and asks you to give something up in return. More strength might mean more weight. More storage might mean more bulk. More premium materials might mean a higher price. There's always a trade-off. One of the healthiest things that you can do in this hobby is give yourself permission to change your mind. Maybe you loved a certain bag 2 years ago, then your needs changed. That's okay. Maybe you switched from a large folder to a smaller one. Maybe you went from magnet cut to utility blades. That's okay. Changing your setup doesn't mean you were wrong before. It means you're paying attention to what actually works for your life today. People sometimes ask me, what's your forever carry? The truth. Honestly, I don't have one. There are different pieces of gear that have stood the test of time for me. Gear I trust, gear I reach for again and again. But even then, my carry changes depending on where I'm going, what I'm doing, and who I'm with. And that's exactly how it should be, because EDC isn't a museum, it's a toolbox. You should choose the right tools for the job that's in front of you or what's to come. The goal isn't to build the perfect pocket dump, the goal is to build a carry that makes your everyday life a little easier. If your knife helps you open packages, mission accomplished. If your flashlight helps you find something in the dark, check. If your pen is needed to sign paperwork or other documents at work, that makes sense. It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to match. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to work. I think one of the biggest traps in this hobby is believing that happiness is always one more purchase away. One more knife, one more flashlight, one more backpack. But I've learned something over the years. The happiest people in this community usually aren't the ones who are the biggest collectors. They're the ones who know exactly why they carry what they carry. So instead of chasing perfection, chase purpose. Build a setup that supports your life, not someone else's. Because at the end of the day, the best everyday carry isn't the one that's most expensive. It's the one that quietly does its job every single day. I want to hear from you guys though. What's one piece of gear that stayed in your EDC for years, and what has earned its permanent spot? I think those stories are some of the best lessons we can share with beginners. If you enjoyed today's episode and you're getting value from EDC for Beginners, I really appreciate if you guys subscribe to the channel and maybe like this video if it resonates with you. Every week I'm going to be breaking down everyday carry in a way that's approachable, practical, and hopefully helps you avoid some of the mistakes many of us made when we first got started. And if you're looking for honest reviews, first impressions, comparisons, lives, things like that, follow my main channel, MikeyDailyCarry. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for being a part of this community. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Welcome back.